Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Sandy Glaze. I'm a personal transformation and self-development coach, and today I'm recording another one of a segment of my Return to the Sacred Mother series. So today, what I want to talk about is understanding the sacredness inside of us. And what I'm going to call that sacredness for this episode is the unconditional love that we have inside of us. And what I also want to talk about is its exact opposite. So when I first started trying to understand why the world was insane, this was a number of years ago, about 2012, 2013, I wanted to understand why the world was as crazy as it was. And I realized to see the beauty in something, I had to see what the darkness was, what the opposite was, to showcase it or contrast it so that I could explain and articulate why one was better than the other. And when I did that, what I made a commitment to myself was that I was going to align myself to the truth, regardless of what it was. I didn't care the outcome. I didn't care if the outcome went against a program, a belief, an ideology, or the way I was like programmed to understand the world worked. I was curious and I stayed curious. I call it the QC, the curiosity potential. And I stayed curious so I could find out what it was that I was looking for, because as the world, I saw it getting crazier and crazier, but I wanted to understand how to maintain my equilibrium in that and know where my moral road was. So what I found with that was it set the table for me going forward, all the way forward. Now I look at what behaviors people do. I look at what's right or wrong, and then I see then I apply it to the people around me. And then that way I always stay true to what my values are, if that makes any sense. So I had to establish the values, the boundaries, the behaviors, the morality, all of that first. And then I look to see who qualifies. And that way I stay true to the process of understanding what is unconditional love, what is the truth in reality, instead of saying, well, this person's my so-and-so, so I have to agree with them, because I chose process over people. And it's been an invaluable tool. So I hope people, if they understand that, they can run with that one, and that'll help them align with the truth, right? But what I want to talk about is unconditional love. So as I'm watching people and I'm observing, I stayed in the observer position. And as I'm watching people talk about what love is, I would watch commercials about, oh, I love my Timmy's and my coffee experience, or I love my new shoes, or I love my new car. But what I realized is people did not know how to feel love, how to express love, or how to radiate as love. These were just the shallow words that were coming out of their mouths, because that's all that we have been encouraged to experience up until this time. But this is where I want to take it in a little further. So this is where the contrast comes in. So I want to look at what love is and what it isn't. And the example I want to give are, humans are fascinating. And this is, again, being in the observer position, but it is amazing what humans will do or say when they think nobody's watching or listening. And this is going to be the other side of it, where it's not so much loving. And what I call that energy is the heartlessness. We're seeing a lot of heartlessness being displayed right now. And I'm going to use a few examples of love and what it is and what it isn't today. So this isn't about bashing anybody, but about waking up our eyes and our senses to know when what we're observing is loving energy that's unfolding around us, or if it's something more nefarious, right? When we align with the truth, what that does for us, it allows us to see, like, establish our own guidelines. It allows us to honor our own boundaries. And what that means is when we see straight and see truth, we know when somebody's crossing and transgressing into our space, or if we're doing it and transgressing into their space. And we're not encouraged to have healthy boundaries, but without healthy boundaries, how do we have healthy relationships if we cannot establish where one person's rights start and stop and the other person's rights start and stop? And this is true in a personal relationship between two people, and it's true in the collective. And we're seeing right now, there's a lot of boundary pushing going on, maybe in the collective, where people think they have the right to tell other people what to do. And that's just not the case, right? So all this allows for us to discern for ourselves what it is that we want and how we show up in the world. So the Western way is contradictory. And I'm going to use a few examples. This is where the confusion comes in. So we're taught, speak up for yourself, be resilient, providing you do what I say if I'm a professional. So there's always conditions that apply. And I'm going to give an example of a Stu Peters episode I just watched. There was a woman named Sariko from South Africa who had taken an experimental procedure and reacted within hours with bruising in her body, which apparently was internal bleeding. She had blisters. She had to have glands removed. Her heart was racing, I think, at 400 beats a minute, which if anybody's familiar with the arrhythmias, I think 200's high, 400 must be off the chart. And what had happened, she went to the hospital and a neurologist told her, she explained what she had done and said this happened 2 hours later. Her neurologist threatened her that she was going to put her in the psych ward if she said any more about it was the experiment that caused her symptoms. So on a scale of 1 to 10, is that a loving thing for somebody to say? You go to the hospital and you say, well, I had this thing happen, and 2 hours later, this was the symptoms, and that person tells you, I'm gonna have you locked up if you keep talking this way. So we're also gonna point out just how insane things are getting, but is that the loving behavior of somebody who wants the best for people? I'm going to lock you up if you don't do as I say. I'm going to use another example. There's a woman I'm working with right now, and I'm not going to go into the details, but her son, who's old enough to decide for himself emotionally, does not want to see his father. And they have made him go to see a therapist. Well, the therapist is trying to con this young man, trick this young man, guilt this young man, and shame this young man into going to see his father. And so we tell the younger people, stand up, but except for when I tell you not to. So the boy holds his own quite well. I've only met him once. He happened to walk in on my session with his mom, and he wanted to say hi. She would tell him about things we talk about, and supposedly he was curious and just wanted to say hello. So that's the only time I met him. But now the therapist is saying that the mother needs counseling. So we have to watch some of the games and the manipulations. Is that a control game? Yes. Is that loving energy? So the therapist can't win over the child. So now she says the mother, she's implying what? That she has a mental health issue. So this is kind of funny. It's funny and it's not funny when you're in it. But this is what we've been conditioned to believe is acceptable in our society. This is not loving energies. So I'm trying to think of other examples. So what is it that makes us sacred as women? What is it that makes our heart sacred? What is it that makes love sacred? If control is an underlying issue that is undermining people every step of the way. So what is it that makes a woman sacred? What is it? She loves life. She loves nature. She loves the universe. She loves joy, happiness. She wants to express herself as the feminine. She wants to laugh. She wants to dance. She wants to play. What is it about us that makes us special as the sacred mother energy? She knows how to protect. She loves life, just being alive for what it is. She's fierce when it comes to protecting people, and especially the little ones who can't protect themselves. And I'm going to use an example here of a couple women that I know of. I just finished watching part of a series from a woman. Her name is Kay Griggs. And she was married to a military man high up. And she's talking, starting to put out in her videos. One of these videos was not from 9 years ago. So she's been telling the truth for a while. One was more recent, I believe. But she's saying what happens in the military, once you make it to the point that you're, I think she called it a bird colonel. So this is in the United States. You go to an initiation rite where you go to a dinner and they ply you with liquor and get you plastered and they sodomize you. This is what she says is the standard fare in the higher ups in the military. So she talked about different events that they go to, that the wives are allowed to be there till about 11 o'clock. And then the women have to leave and the men have a party. And all I could think of was the story about the priest in the Catholic Church that, well, if they could only marry, maybe they wouldn't be buggering little boys. And here's an example. These men are married, and when they get the wives out, they bugger each other. And I'm not even going to go to who they bring to the party later at night. But so we have to start looking at what is true, but we also have to start looking at what is loving energy. So how loving is this woman that she wants the people to know the truth? This is what is really going on. We live in a perverted society, and the opposite of, so good is love, and the evil is the perversion of good. So it's the perversion of truth, it's the perversion of love, it's the perversion of sex, it's the perversion of wellness, it's the perversion, so the example of live, the opposite of live is evil. So we have to start understanding some of these games if we are going to reclaim the sacredness of the feminine energy. Another one, a woman who was standing up for children, Senator Nancy Schaefer. She was calling out all the corruption and how the human trafficking was happening in the Children's Aid Society. I think in the United States, they call it CPS, And globally, they call it CPS. And we know 70 to 80% of the traffic victims have a relationship with that organization. And they found her and her husband, I think they were murder-suicided with 2 bullets in the back of the head, if you get my point. So there's a fierceness about standing up. But even though there's a fear for standing up, and there's a group of people that will get you hurt for trying to stand up and do the truth, we do it anyways, right? In my opinion, we do it anyways. So we all have a choice of how we stand up in life. And this is what's happening right now, because people are starting to speak up and they're starting to tell the truth of their experiences of certain procedures and what the symptoms are. And they're getting shut down by other people in the system. But that's not love. That's control. That's abuse. That's abuse of power. And that is not a loving energy. And it doesn't matter if you show up as a male or a female. If you're doing it, it's not love. So healthcare workers, frontline workers, I thought they had a fiduciary responsibility to look after their patients, and they don't. They have the Hippocratic Oath. The Hippocratic Oath is that they do the best of their ability. But the best of their ability is not the best if it's hampered that they have to follow rules put down by somebody else. And I'm wondering about this woman in South Africa. She said she's worked one month or 1 week, I think, since May or June when she's had this procedure. So does that not hit her in the pocketbook? Fiduciary responsibility is more of a regard for your finance, your assets, your wellness, to do the right thing, come from the highest regard, the highest of your abilities to look after somebody's finances. Well, this is kind of going against both of these, because it goes hand in hand. If you can't make a living, it goes hand in hand. If you can't make a living because you've lost your job because you won't take a procedure. So do the politicians have a fiduciary responsibility for the people to not cause them financial harm? So I'm looking at this a little differently than most people do, but there has to be some form of accountability somewhere along this line, right? We all decide how we show up in this life. Do we come from a loving, compassionate, empathetic place? Or do we come from control? I get to say, because I'm the boss. I've seen so many people just think because they have a piece of paper that they're more qualified to be you than you, and there's no such thing. You are the most qualified to be you. I spoke with a woman one time, was diagnosed by her doctor with cancer, and she said that she was going to get a second opinion. This guy wrote in on her file that she was difficult and showing signs of mental stress. So you have to understand the system that we're working with is not designed for the health and wellness for the people. It's designed to control and manipulate people and keep them in a position of somebody else has power over you, right? So we have a responsibility to provide a circle of care. This is my opinion, and anybody who's watched any of my videos knows this. We have a responsibility to be a circle of care for the people in our lives, whether they're our direct family, immediate family, or outside of that. And nobody's family is less important than yours, and nobody's family is more important than yours. We all have a responsibility and a right to live our lives without being suppressed, oppressed, censored, shut down, ostracized, criticized, ridiculed, coerced. And this is basically what's coming out right now that we're seeing. And there's nothing, that's an abusive, tyrannical environment that we're in. So we can do better. If you ask me, I think we could do better, right? So I've come up with some exercises to do just for fun. And I'm not sure how people are going to feel about these, but I want you to list 3 women in your life. So take a piece of paper and create 3 columns, put their names across the top. And I want you to write down first three women that come to your mind. Write down their redeeming qualities. Are they loving? Are they compassionate? Are they empathetic? Do they tell the truth? Are they kind? Are they sincere? And I want you to go and do that for all 3 of the women in your life. And then I want you to go a little further down. And then I want you to write down their less than redeeming qualities from your perspective. So nobody's going to see this list but you. So it doesn't matter if you're accurate or not. That's up to you. If you lie to yourself, you tell yourself the truth. That's not my problem, right? So then go a little further down the paper and write down their less redeeming qualities. Have you seen them shame their children when they thought nobody was looking? Have you seen them talk about somebody behind their back when that person wasn't there to defend themselves? Are they gullible? Are they stupid? Are they bitchy? Are they passive aggressive? Are they manipulative to get their way? I want you to do that for all 3 women. And I want you to look at the people you're surrounding yourself with. Are you surrounding yourself with women who are capable of love? Because sooner or later, the ones who are capable are going to start reaching out to each other, and we're going to start sharing information and helping get ourselves to that place where we want to be of unconditional love, but be able to articulate and know when we're in it and still be wide awake to the workings of the world, understand the evil of the world. No, we're not going to tolerate that. Maybe we stand up to it. That depends on the situations we're in, but we're not tolerating that anymore. But we also know what it means to be in our loving selves. And I want you to look at those three women and ask, what role do they play in your life? Doesn't matter if they're related to you. It doesn't matter if they've been in your past, but they're in your mind. Doesn't matter if they're a friend, a companion, a work situation. It doesn't matter what it is. But look at all of their qualities. What is it about that person that you like? Are they capable of love? If they're not capable of loving themselves, are they capable of loving themselves? Are they capable of loving other people and know when it's appropriate to put their needs first and when it's appropriate to put other needs first? So that's the exercise. This is going to be fun, because what this is going to do is bring your consciousness consciously into looking at the people you surround yourself with, because until you can look at the behaviors of the people, you can't discern who's good or bad. I made a comment to somebody that all frontline workers, if you're going to go and haul somebody out of their house and get them jabbed, maybe they should all get jabbed. And the first comment was, well, my daughter works in that. So your family's no more important. If she's giving it to somebody else and they don't want it, why should she be given special treatment? And this is how we're going to be able to discern going forward what is loving, positive energy, who respects other people's free will to make their own choices. So I'm going to share this with you. I'm not sure if I can put this into the slide deck when I'm posting this video, but if I can, I will. So this is available as well. So this is just a printout that shows the higher and lower aspects of the masculine and the feminine energy. So the feminine energy, I've listed out some qualities. These are not the only qualities of the feminine energies, but there's a guideline. And then there's the less than admirable qualities, maybe the lesser, what I call the shadow quality traits of feminine energy. So now that you've done it for your three people in your life, the three women in your life that come to mind, now I want you to do it for yourself. What I love about this tool is self-identifying. Nobody cares. It's up to you to decide what are your best qualities. Be proud of them. Be really proud. And I know that somebody hijacked the word pride for an inverted sexual behavior or inverted sexual identity. But that's not what pride is. You can be proud of yourself. You've done something and you feel really good about it, but you can be proud of it because you've made an accomplishment and you've got further, or you've learned a new skill. Be proud of it, but don't let it own you. That's what the pride is supposed to be. Pride vibrates higher than anger, and it gets you closer to courage. So I can see why they want to hijack the word pride. But also go down and look at your lesser qualities. Nobody's going to know but you what your lesser qualities are. And I'm watching a woman right now do a fashion show, and she's pimping out her 16-year-old daughter. You think we don't know? She's making her look like she's 19 or 20, and she's not, but we all know. And when we start to see what behaviors are acceptable and not acceptable, we are going to put that out in the consciousness field, and we're going to change energy. So when you're making a list of the women in your life and what qualities they are giving out right now, are they aspiring to be the best they can? Are they aspiring to get back into their loving energy? Are they aspiring to bring on their innate extrasensory abilities and the qualities that have been shamed in us and women? Are they practicing their own self-growth and looking at their own self-development and aspiring to be the best they can be? Because at the end of the day, that is what it all comes down to, being the best we can be. And it's really hard to do when people are trying to confuse everybody and control everybody. So I thought I would leave you with that today, and just see what your thoughts are. If this inspires you to be the best you can be, or if maybe you say, no, I'm not interested in any of this, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. And that's okay too, because the bifurcation is coming, and we're starting to see who genuinely cares about other human beings and who wants the best for all people, who wants to protect people, who wants prosperity for everybody and the highest good for all parties involved, and who doesn't. And it doesn't matter what way you fall, we're going to find out who has it in them to be the return of the Sacred Mother and who doesn't. And I love these exercises because they're all self-actualizing, right? So anyways, with that, I'm going to leave it there. And by all means, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. And when I bring more of these videos out, I'm going to try to bring tools out that help you go inside and start looking. And you look internally at yourself, but you also go inside to be able to observe what's going on around you. But the idea is that you know how to go in and you know what questions to ask. So anyways, I hope this was fun for you. And by all means, share it with family or friends if you think they can handle it. And if they're not ready for it, you don't have to share it with them. It doesn't matter. So I hope you enjoyed this episode and this segment, and we'll see you soon. Take care.